Welcome back, folks. My name is LastKnownMeal, and today we're gonna be talking about CDPR and Unreal Engine 5. So we got even more information on why they switched to Unreal Engine 5. We actually had a whole video, which I'm going to leave a link to if you want to watch it down below. But basically, they have a bunch of people from CDPR and they're talking about why they switched to the engine. So one of the first things that they talk about is just the solutions Unreal Engine 5 has, because obviously, Epic developed Unreal Engine 5 to be one of the most streamlined engines so far, which does mean that you will be using this engine not just in video games, but also to work on special effects and animations for films, series, and everything else. So the engine itself has multi-purpose use. So the first thing CDPR said in this situation is that, okay, we have Red Engine, which is causing issues. It's a decent engine, it has a lot of positive sides, but at the same time it's difficult to work on, it breaks constantly, and then, you know, maintaining the engine or upgrading the engine to the point where it's not going to cause you those issues might potentially cost you a lot of money, because an engine is not just one part. An engine is a combination of multiple parts, solutions, and everything else a developer needs to develop a game or do anything else in that engine. So when you're constantly trying to fight your engine, and when you're constantly trying to fix everything up, it doesn't allow you to work on stuff. It doesn't allow you to implement mechanics, because every single mechanic then has to be tested. Is it going to cause issues and so on? Or how is this now going to stream like from the engine into your console or PC? So obviously we have seen in Cyberpunk 2077 that the engine itself was causing a lot of issues. I'm sure that the reason also for the lack of new things in the game might be attributed because they were probably working this entire time behind the scenes trying to fix up the engine, because obviously the game was having issues. Now it's looking a lot better, but it still has problems. It's simple as that. So the best thing they could have done is just went very early into Unreal Engine 5, and this tells me one thing. Well, first of all, it does seem they got their, company under some control in terms of they managed to reorganize and rethink their strategy on how they want to release games, because CDPR has to obviously release more games. That's why they bought up another studio, the Molasses Flood, which is working right now on a new game set in either, The Witcher or Cyberpunk 2077 world. We don't know that as of today. But besides that, we also have to think about them, because they're probably gonna be working in Unreal Engine as well. I doubt that they will be using Red Engine for that game as well, so it's safe to assume Red Engine is only going to be used for Cyberpunk 2077 expansions. The reason for that is obvious. Switching to Unreal Engine 5 from Red Engine, porting an entire game is expensive, it's going to take too much time, and it simply does not pay out. It will never pay out. But of course, everything else is going to benefit greatly, because when you have an engine which works properly, when you have an engine which has been tested so well and it basically has Epic engineers working on it constantly, it allows you to work on the game and to simply work on the game, developing what you want to develop. And if potentially you run into issues like, bad optimization, bad frame rate, game breaking, whatever, they can always rely on Epic engineers to help them out, because they did sign a partnership deal with them. And CDPR was especially amazed by the demo they actually shown last year, I believe, when they showed this medieval village, as they said, and there was this part of the gameplay where they kind of saw something similar to The Witcher, Monster Slayer Wanted and so on and so on. So they said oh, is this an invitation for, for us to work in that engine, which I think is a definitive plus. Because today, if we're talking about developing games, especially developing AAA titles, they're expensive, and if you want to achieve something great, you really have to push your limits when it comes to video games. It's simple as that, because when you think about, let's say, new games, new AAA titles, they're huge. They have a bunch of mechanics, they have a huge map, they have a bunch of activities for you to do. Developing that is not easy, and the bigger the game, obviously, the more easily things will break, especially in an open world environment. That's why you have a lot of open world games come out and they have issues, because it will take you years to QA everything in the game, and then you have people coming in, they're gonna be playing the game in their own way, and there is potentially to break something. So today, games have to rely on engine a lot, because if your engine is not working properly, your game is simply not going to work. And all of the time you have spent working on art assets, the time you have spent on making amazing level design, amazing levels, amazing story, amazing quests, if they cannot be run properly by an engine, it all falls down in the water. It's simple as that, because people can never actually immerse themselves into a game if they're having problems with the said games, if the game is buggy, if the game is problematic. And The Witcher as a franchise is something that put CDPR on the map. And imagine if the next Witcher game came out with potentially the same issues as Cyberpunk 2077, people would go insane, because I know that. The Witcher community would go insane. So, of course, when you have a big shoes to fill, being The Witcher 3, you have to start planning immediately. And I'm glad they did, because, look, they probably started developing The Witcher and they said, yeah, this is not going to work. This engine is simply not cutting it, because we want to make a huge open world, we want to do this, we want to do that. It simply won't work. And the switch happened. And I mean, the engine itself, Unreal Engine 5, looks insane. Like, the Matrix demo that I've played, everything before that is just astonishing. And not just that, but also it's very streamlined once you enter the engine and start playing around. Even if you don't have any experience with it, it's relatively streamlined, so you can create something. So imagine now you have developers working on it with experience, and because Unreal Engine is an engine that a lot of people know how to work on, it's better, because every new person you hire has experience with that engine. You cannot hire people and expect them to have experience with Red Engine, because that's an in-house engine. You can't really have access to it like you have with Unreal. So when you switch to a more used engine, and an engine which a lot of people work on, of course you will be able to hire more talent, and this switch is going to be easier because people already know what they're working on and they don't need time to adjust too much, so they can start working right away, which ultimately for your workflow is amazing and something which is going to help much more than it ever did on The Witcher 3 and it never did on Cyberpunk 2077. But we will see what happens. We're still far away from, the game itself. It's still not coming out for years. Just don't expect it. This announcement was for hiring. We still don't have a proper announcement of the game itself, and we won't have it for at least 2-3 years. Just an announcement. And honestly, they can take as much time as they want, because just release a game which is not going to be problematic, and that's about it. So when it comes to me, you can release it whenever you want, for as long as it's releasing when it's ready. So, thank you so much for watching. This is LKM signing out. A new video tomorrow. We're gonna talk about different stuff. And yeah, don't forget to check us out on Twitter and Discord. And if you enjoyed this video, click that like button and a subscribe button for more. Also, as I said, huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters. This is LKM signing out. Stay classy, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, and have a great day.